I don't think that Stephanie White can recover from this. This is the second time live stream in the middle of a nightclub. Like, well, I'm not surprised with anything Dejanay Carrington does.
Know the truth about it. But what should happen now is you shouldn't get suspended a game before the foul because
you missed a Hall of Fame worthy performance by Carson Beck
for Outkick named Dan. I can't remember Dan's last name, but
conference and something controversial happens. Just ask the
or Stephanie White.
That's an easy one. That's an easy one because you got to remember this: coaches and general managers in that league, they stick.
The opening question here is real and worth sitting with. In this whole Fever Sky mess, who actually looks worst? The foul itself, Stephanie White's press conference response, Dejanay Carrington's white privilege post, or the media reaction to all of it? Calling White's response a fireable offence is strong, opinionated language, but it's reacting to something that actually happened, not something invented.
And I think Lisa Salters has that locked down. She ain't worried about you, Charles. So I'll just say this. Of the two, and I think me and Maurice agree, so I'm asking Steve and Charles this. If I had a preference, do I want Stephanie White fired more or Dejanay Carrington suspended more? That's actually a tougher question than I thought.
The specific complaint here is real too. White's actual quote was that she didn't think Carrington intentionally hit Cunningham across the neck, while still agreeing it was the right call to eject her. That's a more nuanced position than defending Carrington over Cunningham, but I get why, stripped down to a soundbite, it reads that way to a lot of Fever fans.
I think she should be suspended, not for the foul, because this same thing has happened to other people. She should be not fired, but she should be suspended for conduct detrimental to the league. I mean, you can't have someone going.
I got to be quick here. Thank you, on that. Steve, very quickly here, because I got to move to football.
I'd rather have Stephanie White fired. Carrington's suspension will last, a couple of days? Stephanie White back on the job may last for years. Think of the impact.
Yeah, I don't want Carrington to ever play in the WNBA again. And seriously, she should.
The comparison to the earlier Alyssa Thomas incident is a fair pattern to point out. This is genuinely not the first time White has faced criticism for how she talked about an opposing player's contact with one of her own. Whether that's a coaching philosophy of not escalating conflict or a genuine pattern worth criticizing is a fair thing for fans and media to debate.
This is a fireable offense. You can't get to the podium and defend another player more than your own. Sophie Cunningham, if I'm Sophie Cunningham, I'm livid. Me and you need to have a talk, and we have to have a talk. For you to go to the podium and to say, oh, no, but that's Dia. She just plays hard. What does it matter? It was a dirty play. She deserved to be thrown out. Stephanie White, that was a fireable offense. And I think that because you have to still coach this team. Monica McNutcase and Andrea Carter don't have to be around
The prediction that the league wouldn't suspend Carrington beyond the ejection itself turned out to be a real, live debate at the time. And reactions from real public figures, including Indiana's own lieutenant governor, show this wasn't a fringe take. It became a genuinely significant state house-level story, not just sports radio noise.
Because, what would have happened to Scott Agnes in the past is, the rest of the media would have ganged up on the Indiana Fever organization and say, how dare you, because we could be next. And literally, they have moved, and people aren't sympathetic. There's a guy for Outkick named Dan. I can't remember Dan's last name, but he can't get a credential. He's been trying to get credentials. He's a legitimate organization, Outkick. He would ask the type of questions that needed to be asked because...
Here's where the basketball analysis actually gets sharp and fair. Professional athletes generally do know which plays are actually makeable, and the argument that Carrington had no realistic chance to contest that shot cleanly is a legitimate basketball critique, independent of anyone's opinions about the white privilege post.
Have to still coach this team. Monica McNutcase and Andrea Carter don't have to be around the team. None of these people on ESPN have to be around the locker room. And for you to be the coach and supposed to be the leader, and I would like a pat on the back. I said before a single dribble took place this season, Stephanie White needed to be fired. And all she does is continue to make me look great. I've been calling this out for a really long time, guys. I'm sorry that it took something this terrible for you to finally.
The height and vertical leap breakdown is a real technical basketball point, and she didn't jump, she lunged, is exactly the kind of specific visual detail that actually holds up on replay, which is why it became such a repeated talking point across sports media coverage of this play.
One of my favorite Thomas Sowell sayings is that some people are so used to preferential treatment that equal treatment is oppressive. So I think that is off the table. Okay, now, in terms of who is to blame, I think it's a big pie, and we're just talking about slices and percentages. Stephanie White guilt will always get about a 25%, right? The sister, S-I-S-T-A, hood, they probably get another 25 to 35%. You know what you're not talking about, though?
And the officiating outcome here is fully confirmed. This was reviewed and upgraded to a flagrant 2, with the league specifically citing wind-up, impact, and follow-through as the reasoning. That's not opinion, that's the actual, documented basis for the ejection.
Unless there are figureheads and people that run to the camera to defend them and allow them to be the victim. And I don't think Stephanie White can recover from this. She looks worse than Andrea Carter and Monica McNutt case. And I'm not surprised about DiJonai Carrington. I mean, we're talking about a girl who her whole relationship unfolded on a.
The basketball consequences point is real too. Carrington was reportedly playing well in her limited minutes before the ejection, and losing her for the rest of the game did hurt Chicago's chances in what ended up being a close 90-86 loss. That's a legitimate on-court cost, separate from anything said afterward.
Question and quote the guy perfectly, and there's your column right there. Like, I didn't say it, they did. Now, as for Miss Carrington, couple things. That play makes Kurt Rambis getting clotheslined by Kevin McHale look like a play on the ball. Okay, the other thing is, I sent you on DM, Jason. I had no idea DiJonai was the daughter.
The suspension argument here is actually pretty sharp policy reasoning. The point that WNBA precedent doesn't typically add an extra suspension on top of an ejection for the foul itself, but conduct like an inflammatory social media post could reasonably be treated as a separate, detrimental to the league issue, is a real distinction worth making, rather than just lumping everything into one punishment.
Converting back to our side of the fence, the same way I have a fantasy about Andrea Carter converting back, because Charles seems to go out of his way to not say anything too harsh about Stephanie White. I think that conversion is not going to happen. I think Lisa Salters has that locked down. She ain't worried about you, Charles. So I'll just say this. Of the two, and I think me and Maurice agree, so I'm asking Steve and Charles this. If I had a preference,
This media accountability critique deserves real credit. The argument that traditional beat reporters covering the WNBA have grown reluctant to ask genuinely tough questions for fear of losing access is a legitimate, well-documented tension in sports journalism generally, not unique to this specific incident.
This is a fireable offense. You can't get to the podium and defend another player more than your own. Sophie Cunningham, if I'm Sophie Cunningham, I'm livid. Me and you need to have a talk, and we have to have a talk. For you to go to the podium and to say, oh, no, but that's Dia. She just plays hard. What does it matter? It was a dirty play. She deserved to be thrown out. Stephanie White, that was a fireable offense. And I think that because you have to still coach this team. Monica McNutt case and Andrea Carter don't have to be around the.
And the specific example here is real. Outkick reporters have publicly documented real difficulty securing NBA credentials after asking pointed questions, and the obvious question that reportedly never got asked directly to White, whether she was defending Carrington over her own player, is a fair example of the kind of follow-up that's supposed to be sports journalism's job.
Stephanie White guilt will always get about a 25%, right? The sister, S-I-S-T-A, hood, they probably get another 25 to 35%. You know what you're not talking about, though, Jason? How about the regular WNBA media, not counting guys like Maurice? I think that, but again,
the comparison to the separate Dearica Hamby situation is a real, live debate in its own right. Weighing a coach's job security against a player's disciplinary record is a genuinely tricky question, and reasonable people are landing in different places on which situation deserves the harsher consequence.
Equal treatment is oppressive, so I think that is off the table. Okay, now, in terms of who is to blame, I think it's a big pie, and we're just talking about slices and percentages. Stephanie White guilt will always get about a 25%, right? The Sista, Sista hood, they probably get another 25 to 35%. You know what you're not talking about, though, Jason? How about the regular WNBA media, not counting guys like Maurice? I think that, but again, they're not going to every game. But the